Hi, everybody. I'm back. The title to this program, Candio, I Need You So, comes from a song from 1979 by a group called The Cars. Now, I use Candio as a reference to Candace Owens, and we're going to talk about Candace Owens and Russian disinformation, which, as a result of her trip and the Tate's trip to St. Petersburg, Russia this past week, um, Russian disinformation is becoming a household term now. And MAGA is being introduced to the fact that there is something called Russian disinformation. And it can be effective. And it is practiced by the Russians against America. And it's a bad thing. So all of this is starting to break this week thanks to Candio. And Candio, I Need You So, is Vladimir Putin saying, come on over, Candace Owens, and we're going to have you help us. I'll put it that way. Have you help us. Okay. Um, Look, folks, about 1.5 years ago, I told you that Candace Owens has ties to Russia. From the very beginning, when she started to surface 2, 3 years ago as a so-called Catholic voice, I, I warned everybody. This woman is not who she says she is. She's got an agenda. She's going to try to rope the Catholics in to pursue some agenda, some objectives that are bad for the church, that are bad for America, and that are bad for Catholics themselves. And so her trip to St. Petersburg this past week, I think she's still over there now, um, is an example of what I am talking about. Now, what are her ties to Russia? How did she get that? Well, through her husband. I believe his name is Greg Farmer. Um, and I talked about this about 1.5 years ago. I'll put the link to the previous show down below. Tablet Magazine. Greg Farmer ran Parler. Parler was run by a Russian company after the January 6th event. Tablet Magazine recently, on May 29th, did an article called Bonzo Goes to Petersburg, and it starts with a reference to Candio's husband going fishing in Russia. I mean, I don't know who goes fishing in Russia. Do you? I mean, let me know if you know somebody who goes fishing. I'd like to know. But the article refers to Ryan Mauro, and Ryan Mauro does a study of Russian ideological and doctrinal warfare against the West, and he's been doing it for a while. His last name is spelled Mauro. Does very good work. Okay. Uh, Ryan Mauro had a tweet or an article from May 28th breaking that Candace Owens is going to St. Petersburg International Economic Forum after Candio lied about going on vacation in Russia. Again, who goes on vacation in Russia? I mean, um, I don't get it. In addition, United 24, which is a media outlet, said on June the 3rd that, quote, human traffickers and conspiracy theorists are the new economic experts, end of quote, for Russia. Because this is the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Candace Owens goes to that. The Tates went there. The Tate brothers went there. They were invited and they went. Okay, so Ryan Mauro, like I said, has been following Russian ideological and doctrinal warfare for a long time. On a May 30th post on X, he says, quote, Dugin is pushing a toxic mix of ideology that targets conservatives, Christians, and MAGA while stirring up separatism, racial conflict, and extremism to tear America apart from within. End of quote. I've told you this. Other people have told you this. Golitsyn has said it. A number of other sources have said that this is the Russian strategy. And so Candace Owens, Candio, is playing into this strategy. That's what she does with all of her stupid conspiracy theories and blaming Jews for everything. That's why Jews are targeted by so many chatters like Candio and by a lot of so-called Catholic chatters who I call fakes. They target Jews, they target other people to rip apart the fabric of America. They don't want to work with anybody, okay? And the church is very clear, and Pope Leo is very clear, and any sane, decent, reasonable person is very clear. You have to work with other people, get along with people. Don't rip apart the fabric of society. Um, so what Candio does is, obviously she targets a lot of MAGA Catholics. She helps to demoralize. She tears apart America. She spreads Russian disinformation. And you heard me talk about all of this before, okay? Um, and once again, I'm going to put in a plug here for myself. I don't do this for money or fame. Though I got to tell you all, please smash the like button down below, subscribe, and tell all your friends about it. I don't do this for money or fame. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And we have to defend ourselves. We have to defend what is right and good and holy, and that's what we're doing. So she tries to divide the society, increase ethnic, religious conflict, demoralizing narratives, and so what we are seeing is that these influencers like Candy O and the Tates have very large followings with certain demographics that are very energized. Okay, and so what Putin is doing here, and the Russians are doing here, is they're co-opting these people to get them to have a favorable impression of Russia. It's a false impression, but it's a favorable impression of Russia. Golitsyn talked about this in Perestroika Deception. He talked about it in New Lies for Old. This is an old Russian strategy, and a lot of other people have talked about this too. The Russians tried to schmooze the highest echelons of any target society to get them to see Russia's the good guy, or not as a bad guy, but it's wonderful wonderland. It looks like something out of Walt Disney's movies. The spires and the churches, the nice, beautiful, empty streets, because the war against Ukraine's killed 500,000 Russians, according to the British intelligence. 500,000. So that means about another million maimed and wounded. Well, that's why there's nobody in the streets. Plus, if there are people in the streets in Russia, they might get together and they might protest, and the government doesn't want that. You don't have any freedoms in Russia. Okay, and then the second thing, by co-opting these influencers, what's a little bit different is that these influencers are influencers. Okay, they're not so much the rich and powerful people in a society, but they're influencers, and they're there to tear apart societies. And so, as I said before, they target certain demographics because they got huge following. Tates have got the young men. Candio has got Catholics. And then, of course, Steven Seagal is there. I think he's probably got all the pizza places in America. Okay. All right. Okay. So, all of this, like I said, is something I've talked about, Golitsyn talked about, others talked about it. And, of course, there was an article that just recently came out that emphasized that what the Russians are doing is they're actually going for social media influencers like the Tates and like Candy O. Okay, the article comes from the Jerusalem Center for Security and Foreign Affairs. It's an article from Angela Davis to Candace Owens, the evaluation of Russian influence operations. And again, and this is from June the 4th, and this again stresses that these influence operations are to create domestic division, sectarian conflict, to promote the false narrative that American power is a threat to peace. American power is a threat to peace. Not the Russians who are invading all their neighbors. American power is a threat to peace, which is a total lie. And because what America does is we act with the international community. Well, at least till the time of Trump, we acted with the international community in affecting positive change. So what the Russians do is they have these influencers push domestic division. America is a power, is the American power is the threat to peace. That's a lie that these influencers push, and also push this idea of multipolarity, which I'm going to talk about. I'm still working on some materials, but multipolarity is an idea that came from Dugin. It benefits China, it benefits Russia, benefits the Russian Empire, and it's designed to weaken America. So this is what these influencers are doing. This is what the Tates are going to do. This is what Candy O is going to do. Steven Seagal will just keep eating pizzas. Okay, so what we saw from Candace Owens' trip to Russia, she's still over there. She was on a panel. And she was on Russian TV. She says, and these are quotes, media is trying to make the division between Russia and America. My trip revealed to me just how similar we are. End of quote. Yeah. A question was asked by Mauro, who paid for these trips? And also, too, Mauro said that Candy O is pushing the lie that Americans are tired of funding Ukraine. That just isn't true. Last night, the House passed the bill, bipartisan, that funds Ukraine and that also sanctions Russia. And then there's more on this. You see Candace Owens, Candy O, in her various posts, showing photos of Russian churches, of family. Oh, this is a great place. This is a great Christian country. These are all lies. I mean, I've told you that Russia is not a Christian country. Um, Repeatedly. I've had a number of shows on it, and all you have to do is see that documentary. I believe it's called No Priest Left, that just came out, and I talked about that. So she's saying that Russia's Christian, which it isn't. Look at all these nice churches. Look at all the family, and she's smiling. I mean, this is an information ops. This is an influence ops by the Russians, and they're using her to target Catholics and young people. Okay? And she's not alone. She's just one of the greater lights. She's got a lot of lesser lights that she has on her shows from time to time that promote the same narratives, the same lies. Okay, so Candace Owens said that she went on to say that Zionists are obsessively smearing Russia, end of quote. Okay, so now this is a very important dynamic. Every time that the errors of Russia are brought forth, or the attacks of Russia on us are brought forth, or the problems with Russia are brought forth, somebody always jumps in. And I've seen this with increasing regularity. Someone always jumps in and says, no, no, that's a Zionist lie. They're trying to shift the attention away from Israel to Russia. I mean, this is Russian disinformation. And what's going on is, of course, that's put out by the Russians because the Russians want to divide America from Israel. Israel's our ally and our friend. They want to divide us from Israel. Okay? And so they put out this lie that anytime you criticize Russia, oh, it's Zionists. It's Zionists. Russians are our friends. See, they're Christians. Nice churches, lots of kids, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what is very interesting um, is Andrea Schaefer. Okay, Andrea Schaefer is a commentator. She's on X, and she watches Candace Owens' account just like Pekka Kallioniemi does with Vatnik Soup. And Andrea Schaefer said that there were 1.8 million more followers for Candace Owens because of the Russian trip. 1.8 million more. So now she's up to 7.8 million when she went on the Russian trip. Now, this is on X. 1.8 million more followers on X. That's huge. Okay, so are those real accounts? No, they're not real accounts. They're Russian accounts, but they give you the impression, okay, that she's popular, that she's right. That's what that's saying. They manipulate the numbers. They manipulate the views. They manipulate the likes. Pekka Kallioniemi and Vatnik Soup says within 1 hour of Candace Owens posting about Russia, within 1 hour, she got 153,000 views. 1 hour. She got 1,000 shares and 9,000 likes within 1 hour. Okay. This is what the Russians do. This is how they support their favorite voices. So you have to look at who's saying what, and you have to look at these numbers and see who the Russians are supporting. Well, obviously they're supporting Candace Owens, and obviously the Russians have a very strong information operation, especially in social media, and they control the viewers, they control the likes, they control the retweets or whatever. Okay, this was the same case with the website, with the YouTube channel called Redacted. Once they started putting out anti-Russian rhetoric or anti-Ukraine rhetoric, pro-Russian rhetoric, their viewership shot right up. The number of people who joined their channel, their subscribers, shot right up. This is documented. This is well known. So you know right away that when they're anti-Ukraine, anti-American, pro-Russian, they're being supported by the Russians. And a lot of Catholic influencers, a lot of Catholic chatters I call fakes, are supported by the Russians because they repeat or say Russian disinformation narratives or Russian narratives or narratives that the Russians like. Some of those are remigration. Some of them are having, big families. Some of them are Catholic identity. All of this stuff the Russians can use. Okay, and all of this they do use to create division. Okay, all right. So Preston Stewart. Um, I can't read my note very well, but Preston Stewart is another commentator on X. June 4th, he reported that Rybar, which is a Russian outlet, said, quote, the only truly valuable foreign guest with real global English-speaking audience turned out to be Candace Owens. Now, that's an invitation that paid off many times over. End of quote. She's an investment for the Russians. The Russians are investing in Candace Owens and Candy O to divide this country, to put out demoralizing narratives, to co opt the Catholics as a fifth column within the United States. I've talked about this repeatedly, and I identified it a long time ago. That's what's going on. Candy O is a bad actor. It's that simple. I know the lighting's a little funky in here today. I don't know what's going on. Okay. All right. Candace also said Carlson should be president. Okay. All right. So there's a group called OCCRP, Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project. They're incredible. They had a report that came out, I think, about a month ago. I'll see if I can find it and put it in the comments. Basically, talks about Russia raising anti-Semitism in the West and Israel. Anti-Semitism has geopolitical value. I've been saying this for a long time. So OCCRP is a credible organization. This report is getting a lot of play. So when you see anti-Semitism or hatred of Jews being stoked by Catholics, that helps the Russians. Some of the Catholics doing it, or some of the so-called Catholics doing it, know they're helping the Russians. Some are just useful idiots. Some are on the payroll. Some are doing it for free. But that helps the Russians. When you attack Jews, when you encourage Jew hatred or anti-Semitism. And that's going to hurt everybody. It's going to hurt every society. It's going to hurt the church. It's going to hurt the world. It's going to hurt the chatters. Well, maybe not. A lot of the chatters who promote Jew hatred actually find it rather lucrative. So they think their money will be able to buy them some security. But they're hurting society. And they're going against the teachings of the church, which is not to hate Jews and not to promote anti-Semitism. Okay, so what's been the pushback? Well, a lot of people have commented. I'm sorry, I don't know why the lighting is so this way. A lot of people have commented that the MAGA influencers have taken notice of Russian disinformation. It's a real thing. Russian influence operations are a real thing. Oh my gosh. Well, if Russian influence operations are a real thing with Candace Owens and the Tates, well, then maybe there were Russian influence operations in 2016 that were the real thing. And of course, there were. Okay. The evidence is overwhelming that there were. Okay. So, Laura Loomer. I mean, how long these people keep on this track that I'm about to tell you, I don't know. But at least they're making the term Russian disinformation a household name in some MAGA households. So, Laura Loomer says that Candio needs to be investigated, and she CC's Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, on June the 4th. Of course, that's laughable. Todd Blanche is going to investigate Candio. Loomer says that Candio and her husband have previously met Dugan. She thinks that happened in Italy sometime back. She believes that Candio will move to Russia. Dispute disinformation and propaganda. Then we got Glenn Beck. I'm sorry. And then Loomer says on May the 28th is Russia using Candace Owens to run a Russian disinformation operation to divide the right wing of the U.S. End of quote. Yes, and more. Okay. Glenn Beck on June the 4th says the Candace Owens is taking a suspicious trip to Russia. Is not the real story. It's only proof that Russia and Alexander Dugin's propaganda operation is working. That's Glenn Beck. Ben Shapiro, of course, attacks Dugin, and he debunks the idea that Russia is Christian. So more reasons for certain people to attack Ben Shapiro. and to attack him for whatever on whatever grounds. Okay, so where's this taking us? I mean, Russian disinformation is real. They're targeting the social influencers. Candace Owens is one of their assets. The Tate brothers, another one. Um, but now it's starting to become a household phrase. Russian disinformation becoming a household phrase. It's real, um, and it's just like 1930s Germany, where the American celebrities went to Germany and met Hitler and said he was a great guy. I mean, it's the same thing. This is a bad turn of affairs. At some point, when we get an American administration back in, then these people need to be investigated, and if warranted, further steps need to be taken to prosecute them. But this is, I think, very significant that now that MAGA influencers are saying there's something called Russian disinformation, Russian influenza too. Russian, maybe that's the term. We got Candace Owens has got Russian influenza. Okay, so there many of the MAGA influencers are starting to see Russian disinformation is real. Candace Owens is propaganda along with others. So she promotes a lot of propaganda along with others. That's all we got. Please like the video, share it, subscribe. Again, this is confirmation of what I've been talking about for more than a year and a half. Um, Thank you.